We're working on a project which is to redevelop and relaunch the NHS Improvement Patient Experience Headlines tool. The background was we had another tool when we worked for the Trust Development Authority, which really lined up all the nationally reported and published patient experience metrics and put them into one place for trusts. The motivation for doing this was because trusts wanted it. One or two trusts really do have some deficits around their analytics capacity, so this really enabled them to have access to their own data and to be able to use it in a really effective way to drive improvement internally. So the motivation for the project really came because we were using a tool which was quite basic. It used an Excel format which was a little bit unstable. There are a number of challenges with the tool that we had been using previously. As I said, it's a very simple Excel tool. It had a huge amount of data in, so one of the problems was it was quite unstable because obviously if you change one thing, it could actually send ripples through the tool and upset one or two of the other metrics. So it was quite a difficult thing to really maintain stability in. So that was one of the motivators for trying to do it in a much sort of more robust way. Working in using something called Agile, which is a new approach. It was certainly a new approach to me in terms of the project development work. I think it's a really good way of working, and I've always believed actually fundamentally if you want to get something done, you get people together who have a real stake in the project and have the right expertise. So what Agile was able to do was pull together the right team to really support development of a really high quality product, but also most importantly to just utilise all the skills from across the organisation in order to do that. And Agile really kept us on our toes. Now, having a really good Scrum Master in Shweta meant that you couldn't just put it on the back burner and have it as a nice to do. It was absolutely the right thing to do, and it was just about making sure the project is at the front of everybody's mind. We'd done some research a couple of years ago which really showed that trusts were pretty good at collecting patient feedback actually, but what they were less good at was really making really effective use of that feedback to really drive improvement. So what the tool enables them to do is to really access their own data in a fairly sort of creative way, to really add value to their own internal reporting and to start to measure the things that were really important to patients in their improvement work. As the product owner for the Patient Experience Headlines tool, it was just really important that it worked. So it worked for those trusts that were going to have to use it. So it needed to be something which was really straightforward, really easy to use for them. And I understand that sometimes things that are easy to use for people who are out there have quite a complex back end. And in a way, I mean, I'm not a technical person, but I wanted to be able to trust the team so that I could just trust that expertise will be put into making that tool as user-friendly and as easy to use as possible. We've had sort of involvement, if you like, from trusts and particularly heads of patient experience for the word go. We raised awareness and brought together a group of about 32 trusts who have been sort of interacting on the product really from the time we've started. We had a WebEx a couple of weeks ago in which we had I think we had over 30 trusts sort of participating in, and there was quite a lot of exchange post that experience. So they are pretty engaged with it. I think the reason we've kept them engaged is because it's something that they're saying they really would value and need. So I think it's really important to keep them in your sites or keep them in our sites as the customer essentially and the ultimate user of the resource. The Patient Experience Headlines tool will really benefit both those trusts who are out there using it, because it will help to fill some of the gaps they've got perhaps around sort of analytics. But I think internally it will help us to have a really effective view of what's happening. And I think anything in NHS improvement that really helps us internally to remain focused on patients is really important. I think as a national strategic body, we could get very easily caught up in the sort of the technical stuff around getting the money right, getting performance right, and potentially lose some sight on patients and their experience in organisations. So it's really important. So by using tools like this within the organisation, it really helps to maintain that focus on on patients, and ultimately what we're here to do is improve patient safety, patient outcomes and their experience. So I think the tool will be helpful internally to really help to retain that focus in a sort of a structured, organised way. If there's anyone else in the organisation who really requires or needs that sort of analytics, expertise and specialist skills, I think for me, actually what the team offers is that expertise and specialist skills. So it's about trusting that's in place anyway. But it's also about the kind of expertise around how you organise a project as well, how you organise a technical project essentially. So it's about bringing the right people together. So it isn't just about being able to pick up the phone and tap into an analyst. It's about helping you to organise your work so to get the best out of that work.
Yeah. So I'm Jenny Pennell, the Project Manager for Nursing and Patient Experience at East and North Herts NHS Trust. So we're a large NHS acute trust, and we're split over 4 hospital sites. So we have the Mount Vernon Cancer Centre, Hertford County, the new QE2, and we're here at the moment at the Lister Hospital in Stevenage. Quite a tricky Excel spreadsheet to look at. I felt that you were looking at the document and then you had to keep scrolling along. It would have been very difficult to print out any information. For myself, of course, it was useful to see how we sat and compared with other organisations, but it would have been difficult to share with other members of the Patient Experience Committee or the board indeed. I was really pleased to be asked to be part of the workshop where we looked at the tool, and I really do feel that the comments that we made in the workshop where we talked about adding in the collection methods for the FFT, adding in the outpatient FFT, I do feel that they were taken on board, so it was really helpful for trusts to be able to come along and share the session with you. I think it's a fantastic improvement on the Excel tool that we had before. It was very obvious when we came along to the workshop and looked at the examples. The graphics are far much more simple to look at. It's obviously much easier to look at graphs rather than read out reams of numbers. Being able to perhaps pull out examples of where we sit in comparison to other trusts that are similar to us. It will be helpful for me to be able to choose my own peer group and to know that that will stay in whichever information I'm selecting and looking at. And again, I'm sure I'll be able to use examples of that in our board reports.